it's the winds that really take these wildfires and get them away from things that our firefighters can handle and put it into the realm of Mother Nature has taken over and there's very little we can do. Now, this situation that we see right there, the part we see on the screen right now, yes, that's a good one for the aerial tankers. I wonder what's available, though, with so much still being used up there in the greater LA area. How much resources do we have available? This is life in Southern California. There's no way around it.
And Pat, I hate to interrupt you. You just saw, as you were talking about what's available, we just saw a helicopter make the first drop in that area. I believe, if I'm looking at the map correctly, Mr. Abbott, this is the Christopher Hill County Preserve area, which is, like you said, kind of that wildland urban interface area, that nature preserve that so many people like to live nearby. But this is the Bernardo Center Drive area. It's Camino del Norte, and there are a lot of homes in that area. As you look at these pictures, you mentioned a couple of things that you think are important to look at. The smoke seems to be rising straight up, indicating that there isn't much wind to carry it and help it spread any faster than just the natural spread through the wildlife. But as you look at how close some of those homes are, do you think that there is a need for evacuations at this point? And should people who live around there be thinking about getting ready to leave?
Well, I'm sure the folks who are in charge of doing the evacuations can analyze that. I'm just looking at the TV screen now, which is a two-dimensional picture. You'd need a 3D view and with the overlay of the wind directions to say who needs to evacuate or not. But let me bring up another thing here. These kinds of wildfires are not something that's going to decrease in the future. They're always going to be here. And as more and more developments are built like this, single-family homes with lots of airspace between the individual houses. And let me state it rudely, bluntly, houses built out of fuel. You're simply providing fuel for fires to burn longer and hotter than they would. I'm bringing up something that all the talk about setting back fires, thinning out vegetation, class type A roof, all that sort of stuff, pretending insurance companies are bad guys because they're part of the problem. No, it's basically Mother Nature versus humanity. The only answer is going to start building houses with intelligence, and that is to say, buildings that don't burn easily. We see from Governor Newsom right now, he's made out a thing about right away with Pacific Palisades. We're going to suspend all building permits and everything. We'll get it built right back up as fast as we can. I admire the spirit, but when we build it back, it's not building it fast that matters. What matters is building it back with brains. That is to say, building it back with materials and with styles that can withstand fire. Because all we're doing now is they burn down, you build it right back up, and it burns down again.
All right.
Paradise, California, 85 people killed in one fire. They had it 10 years before. The same thing. In other words, we're not learning the lessons. The way we are doing things is not going to work.
Oh, and you can hear the passion. Dr. Abbott, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Hang on the line for a minute. We want to take another phone call right now with somebody who says they witnessed this fire start. Dr. Abbott, if you would, please stay on the line. We admire your passion and your zeal for all of this and appreciate your expertise in that as you're looking at Sky 10 footage of a fire in the Rancho Bernardo area. This is off of Bernardo Center Drive and Camino del Norte. We have seen some water drops. We've already seen at least one fire retardant drop, and we are watching crews attack this as quickly as they can. I'd like to bring in Wes Johnson. He is in the area, a realtor in that area that says he saw the fire start. Wes, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us what you saw early this morning about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was just in my office at the bureau home team, and we were just saw smoke coming up, and I walked over and I saw the fire on the mountain, and it was going fast. Luckily, there was no wind. Started at the base, but within like 3 minutes was all the way up to the top.
It moves so fast through that dry brush. How far away was your office? You said you were in your office and you looked out the window and saw the smoke. About how far away was that?
Oh, I'm looking at it. I'm about a mile and a half away. I can see them dumping water on it right now. They're doing a great job.
You're a realtor in the area, so obviously your office is there. You know some of the homes in the area. Take us through some of the development around there. What's threatened right now if this fire isn't able to be put under control pretty quickly?
Well, right now you got down at the base. You've got condos and you got apartments down over there. Luckily, it's moving up a little bit away from there, from what I can see, and that's what I've got for the geographical location right now.
All right, and we're seeing right now the helicopters. I think I've seen at least 2 helicopters making water drops, circling back and forth. We have seen one retardant drop, that pink that you see on the base of the mountain, and you can see as Sky 10 zooms out right now, all of the homes in that area and all of the people in that area right now that are seeing this smoke in their backyard. Wesley, when you look at this fire and you have seen what has gone on in San Diego through the last couple of days and really the red flag warnings we've been in under for the last couple of weeks, what's your mentality as you're driving through the area, as you're watching, this dry brush go up in flames? What's your message to people who, maybe they haven't been paying attention as closely as they need to, or, getting that go bag ready?
I would say for your home, your area around there, look for dry brush. You have total control over how close that gets to your house on your property. There's also, I've seen crews in the area. They've been around. They've been doing weed abatement. We've been preparing.
And that is advice for everyone to heed right now as we're watching all of these flames on the mountainside and the helicopters. And there you can kind of see through the smoke, the 15 behind it. It shows where this fire is in relation to our urban city. This is Rancho Bernardo. This is not some far off place. This is not some remote wildland vegetation location. Wes Johnson from the Beer Home team. Wes, thank you very much for joining us and sharing what you saw with us. We may check back in with you later. If Dr. Abbott is back on the phone right now, I'd like to bring him back in. And Dr. Abbott, for people who are just joining us right now, you had mentioned earlier what type of brush this is, as we see another drop of fire retardant on the mountain. Can you tell us again the type of vegetation that this fire is burning through and why that's significant for this fire?
This is what we refer to as chaparral type vegetation. It occurs in the Mediterranean climate zones of the world. That is to say, for us, the Mediterranean basin, again, at the same latitudes in the south, we have this Mediterranean vegetation in parts of Chile, South Africa, and Australia. In all 5 of these areas, one of the characteristics of it is these plants have to live through long, hot, dry summers. It takes very, very tough plants to do that. Fire is more common to them than rain. And they have evolved such that the way they go to the next generation requires fire. For some of these plants, they'll simply burn down to the roots and they'll sprout again. But for those with seeds, it takes the fire to crack a shell, or maybe it's one of the gases in the smoke that'll cause a seed to sprout. And of course, if you just had a fire, that means you just cleared out bare ground, and the fire also making the seed sprout. Here comes the next generation of vegetation. In other words, it's a fire-adapted community. The larger point being is that fire's not going to go away. There's nothing we're talking about or inventing or thinking about that's going to stop the fires from happening. Now, you look at the picture right there now. There are the homes out there, and I'm looking at their defensible space where they have cleared off the vegetation, and I'm glad they did. That 50 or 100 feet, you've just seen with Altadena, you've seen it with Pacific Palisades. What is that 100 feet of cleared space going to mean if you had the Santa Ana winds blowing hard? Nothing. Means nothing. I want to go back to 2007, the Witch Fire, also in this exact same area right here, the same Rancho Bernardo area. The Witch Fire, the houses that started burning were not the ones on the interface. They were in the middle of the housing development, and the flames were almost 5 miles away. But the embers flew in and started the fires inside. The larger point being, to get back to my main thing here really, is the plants will burn, and we build houses that will burn. In fact, our houses have more fuel in them than the plants do. The only reasonable thing to do is to totally build houses with fire-resistant materials, to do things differently than we have, or just going to keep reliving the same tragedies over and over again.
This is right near the Black Mountain Open Space Park. Dr. Abbott, you know the area of San Diego as well as anybody. As these helicopters are looking for water sources, take us through where they're looking to find water right now, because I'm looking around and on maps and trying to find water sources. Maybe Lake Hodges, is that a possibility that's right up by there that they could be drawing water from right now? And is there that much water? How dry are some of these lakes in this area after a year with basically no rain?
Well, certainly Lake Hodges is nearby. That would be a good, close, easy one to go to. I haven't driven over that here in recent weeks, so I don't know what the water level is right there. But there are other smaller water bodies around. What we see is helicopters coming in. They're loading up here somewhere relatively close, I think, the way they're coming in one right after another. And I don't know just for sure which one they are. Some developments, like golf courses and all, some of them will have ponds, water hazards in the golf course. And I don't know what kind of agreements people have, but you could suck some of those things dry. In other words, there's a number of water sources that can be tapped, and I would presume that the fire departments have working relationships with all these people who have these water bodies so that they can be utilized in a time of emergency like this.
All right, Dr. Pat Abbott, thank you very much for sharing your information with us. Just to reset, as we come up on 10:02 on a Wednesday morning, this is a fire in the Rancho Bernardo area that you're looking at. We have broken into our regularly scheduled coverage because this fire is so close to homes right now. This is near the intersection of Bernardo Center Drive and Camino del Norte, just west of the 15 freeway. We have seen the response, the helicopters that have been going by, the planes dropping retardant, and no doubt the fire crews that are on the ground battling this already. I know Fire Station 33 is just up the road on Bernardo Center Drive. You see on your screen right now this picture from Sky 10 of another helicopter making a run to drop water. I'd like to bring in Jose Isea from the city of San Diego. And Jose, thank you very much for joining us on such short notice and such trying times right now for all of Southern California. Take us through the response from the city of San Diego, because this is city land, if you will. This is not Cal Fire or county land. So how does the city respond to this, and what type of resources does the city of San Diego have at their disposal to use?
Yeah, good morning, Aaron. We do have quite a few resources out here. From the initial get-go, we realized the hold on, there's another truck coming in over me here. We did call in several strike teams to start managing the fire, and as mentioned, it had a potential for about 100 acres. Right now, it's about 5 to 7 acres. They are trying to box it in, if you can see from the air, trying to create a box around it to kind of keep it, try to keep it at 20 acres. We do have evacuations in place for the immediate area surrounding here. We did have one injury, one fire burn victim that was being transported to UCSD Medical Center. And again, of course, roadways here are closed in this immediate area as well. So we ask residents to be patient and find a way around and just alleviate some of the traffic congestion right now.
We know that's a popular hiking area, that preserve and those mountains around there. Is that person, what do we know about the person that was burned? Were they close to the fire because maybe they were hiking? Is this something that could have been man-started? What do we know so far about that information?
Yeah, not sure yet what caused it. Were involved with the injury, but he does seem to have minor burn injuries, minor to moderate burn injuries. So we'll be looking at getting him his treatment. But as far as the fire, as mentioned, it is a hilly area here, in some parts a lot of brush, and of course a lot of water being dropped off. We have Cal Fire dropping off fire retardant. Water's being drawn. I think you guys were talking about that. It's coming from Miramar, reservoirs in Miramar and Lake Hodges. So those are two of the sources for water that the airdrops are using.
And then you mentioned Cal Fire. Obviously, the city of San Diego is part of that mutual aid that all fire departments and fire institutions around Southern California and really around the state and region share in. They're so thin right now. We saw the Lilac Fire yesterday. We've seen what happened a couple weeks ago up in Los Angeles, Altadena and Palisades area. Are there crews left? I mean, what are you doing to make sure that there are enough crews still and that they are ready to go after now a month's worth of firefights like this?
Well, as we've talked about in the past, we have one of the best mutual aid systems in the country. And as you can see through the recent fires that we have, including yesterday's Friars fire, we were able to draw assistance from various jurisdictions in the area. Right now, we have Rancho Santa Fe fire up here, Cal Fire. I'm sure, let me see what else we have over here. I believe Poway's out here. We have a bunch of, that's a Poway brush truck there. I'm standing next to a Cal Fire truck here. So, there's quite a few agencies involved, and it's what keeps us safe is this great cooperation and teamwork that we have with various agencies.
All right, Jose Isea with the City of San Diego, and we appreciate all of the hard work that these first responders and emergency crews do, putting themselves in the line of danger to keep other people safe. Just to recap, you are looking at live pictures from Sky 10 of a fire burning in the Rancho Bernardo area, just off of Camino del Norte and Bernardo Center Drive. We just heard from the city there are evacuations in place for the immediate area around that fire. That is the base of that mountain, so that would be along Camino del Norte, looking at Rumbin Road, perhaps Deerwood as well, California Drive. Cayenne Ridge Road is on the western side of that mountain, so it's possible that that area might need to be evacuated as well. It seems like the fire is burning on the eastern side, the side facing the 15 freeway, and we have ABC 10 News reporter Adam Campos live in the Rancho Bernardo area. Adam, tell us what you are seeing right now in those neighborhoods.
Jared, right now, when we were making our way over, traffic on the 15, let me just say, it's horrible as people are just trying to make their way back off as they were trying to exit. They're trying to make their way back off on the freeway. And just right now, we have seen several planes come through to drop some fire retardant. We also saw them dropping it on the way here. We've already seen a few water drops as well. So they are trying to attack this as quick as possible. And now we are also seeing just some people, they're lined up on the road. We are not sure if these are people that were evacuated, but they're here watching. They're trying to talk to officers to see whether they can, and it looks like we actually have another plane coming in right now for a water drop. And just right over this hill, when I look on the map, there are several neighborhoods right here in this area, and there's one particularly that is in the middle of this area where the fire is. It is Wine Creek Drive. That's the main road. It's that neighborhood right here that I think is one of the more worrisome areas that they want to try to knock this fire out, because it's just painted right there in the middle of this hillside. So all the information that we have right now is, again, the potential for 100 acres. We're not sure what the acreage is at right now. We know that there is a burn victim. And we just know that they are trying to get this out as soon as possible. Right now, this is where they have all the media set up. So this is, at least for right now, as close as I think we can get. We may see if we can get in a little bit closer in a little bit. But right now, this is where we're set up, and this is the view that we have. We are just off of the 15 right here on Camino del Norte. And just again, what we've been seeing from everything is the water drops, the retardant. They are trying to move onto this as quick as possible. So hopefully we can get a little bit more information soon on where the fire actually stands, and if we could talk to a few residents. We're going to try to do that here now, Jared.
Thank you very much, Adam. Stay safe. We saw the line of police cars going by him at the beginning of this report, and it shows the emergency response that is there. I want to show you this map right now that we have made that gives you an idea of the location of this fire. You see the 15 freeway as it goes through the Rancho Bernardo area. That is on the east. The fire is west of that, near the intersection of Bernardo Center Drive and Camino del Norte, right there at the southwest intersection of those two major thoroughfares. And you can see on this map all of the smaller streets around it. That is all developed. That is housing. There are businesses. There are schools in those areas. We've heard from the city of San Diego that there are evacuations going on for the immediate area around the fire. They have not given more information about which specific streets, but it's likely that if you can see the fire, if it feels close, you should go ahead and get out right now anyway. You should be thinking about evacuating. As we look at a live picture from Sky 10, we've heard Cal Fire has crews there. San Diego Fire and Rescue has crews there. Poway Fire has crews there as well. And we see the air assets that are coming in, dumping water and retardant, trying to keep this from becoming a bigger disaster. Part of the reason that this needs to be done with some immediacy, aside from the homes right there, is the forecast for later today. We are expecting stronger winds through the afternoon. We are in a red flag warning through 8 or 9 p.m. tomorrow night because of winds. We've seen public public safety power shutoffs nearly every week for the last month because of wind warnings and safety concerns. I want to bring in retired firefighter now, Bob Lyon. Bob, we spoke to you yesterday during the Lilac Fire. And here we go again, and how dangerous, how does this illustrate how dangerous the situation is all across Southern California?
Well, like you said, Southern California is a tinderbox right now, and the winds are definitely a major factor involved here. But the good news is just like the gentleman said earlier, California has had one of the best mutual aid agreements and pacts. We've started probably 40, 50 years ago now, and it's been fine-tuned. It's a really well-organized program. It's run real well, and we usually don't have a problem with resources other than getting them there in time. Sure. And right now, time is of the essence because, like you said, we got these wind conditions that are going to come up. It's only going to make it more difficult for the firefighters. And I know every firefighter on the line, as well as all of the staff officers and the people that are running the thing, are well aware of is they really want to get on top of this and get this thing out before the winds get worse, because we do have a problem there in that the terrain is difficult. You've got those houses and structures that are in the way of this, and this could get a lot worse if they can't get on top of it, which luckily we have all the air resources available. We have the fire attack base out of Ramona from CAL FIRE, and they work extremely well with San Diego City. They have aerial resources with their helicopters, and the sheriffs bring in their helicopters. So we do have a lot of good aerial resources. The advantage we have right now is that it's daytime. They can see the terrain. They know the terrain very well. The winds are definitely a factor, but at least we've got the daytime hours to deal with and get the personnel in there. So hopefully they'll be able to get a handle on this thing and get it out fairly quickly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you some of the difference between yesterday and today. I think that's an important point, that the planes and the helicopters can fly because it's daytime. They can see and target where they're dropping a little better. I wanted to ask you, though, yesterday we saw there were houses around the fire, the Lilac Fire and even the Paula Fire and certainly the Friars Fire. But when you have a situation like today where there is so much development around a wildfire, so many homes there, how does that change the nature of the fight, and how does that change the urgency of what fire crews are trying to do when you see homes yards, if not feet, away from some of these flames right now?
Well, the past, it wasn't as big a concern, but now that we've seen how these disasters unfold, and how once one starts, you can really get it out of control very quickly and lose a lot of property. The good side is in the development areas, you have water lines there, so we do have a water supply for the fire engines. So you can get a lot of water and a lot of personnel there quickly, so you do have that as an advantage as opposed to some of the more rural areas that have roads that are very difficult to navigate for large fire trucks. And a lot of them don't have the water supply system, so you just come in with what water is available in the fire trucks and the tankers. So, there's a yin and a yang to it. Yes, you have structures and property and businesses that are in the way, and they are a definite danger factor for you. But the plus side is you have better access to it, and you have a good water supply system in place for yourselves.
All right, it's all welcome news when we hear about that type of assets, that type of supply that firefighters can use for this. Bob, we're going to go away from you, but if you could please hold on the line for a few more minutes. We'd like to come back and continue to get your information about this. Adam Campos has been live near this fire for the last few minutes. We scrambled our crews as soon as this fire broke out. And Adam, we know there are evacuations in the area. You have now spoken to some of the evacuees. Can they share what they went through this morning and how tense this has been for them?
I have an evacuee right now with me. This is Diane. Diane, just tell me, you live in these apartments that are right here over this hill. When did you first hear about the fire? Were you home?
No, I was actually at work, and my coworkers were telling me that there was a fire that was starting, and then my husband sent me a text and was like, hey, there's a fire.
You need to keep all of these cars clear for the trucks that are going to come in and leave.
We're just getting an announcement from the SDPD. They just told that they want to try to clear some of the cars that are here on the road. Diane, sorry that was interrupted. Just wanted to let them know what's happening right there. But yeah, you mentioned you got the text from your coworkers.
And then, I got a text from my husband, and then I have the Fire Duty app, Watch Fire app, and it said evacuation, and I was like, oh my God, I need to get home. So I drove home, and then they're not letting us back into our apartments, and then there's also kids that are at the daycare center that are there. Sorry.
No, you're okay. I know this is a stressful time and you guys are trying to worry about everything that's happening here, but you also said you have 2 dogs that are in your house, correct? That's really your main concern right now?
Yeah, I know that people are considering literally jumping over the fence to get in there, and I don't blame them. But yeah.
I mean, and is this something that you would have ever imagined happening in your neighborhood? I mean,
No.
just off that.
No.
And for right now, have you guys just been hearing about with the winds picking up with the fires and stuff like that? Do you guys have like to-go bags ready to go?
No, I wish I did now. But yeah, everybody stay prepared. You just never know. Yeah, that's all I could say right now. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Well, thank you so much. I know you're trying to figure all this out right now. We appreciate you taking the time. So as you can see right now, just the distress of not being able to get into the apartments. We know the fire right now, as Jared said earlier, it is pushing east, but they are not letting anybody come into these apartment buildings that are right here over this wall. And she mentioned too that she also talked to a few parents, as there's a daycare located on the corner of Camino del Norte, and they have not been able to come pick up their kids. We're going to try to work to see if we could talk to some parents that do have kids there, or try to get more information on what's happening with that situation. But for right now, it just seems like all of a sudden, with people trying to come back to their homes, it's just a worry, the fact that they cannot get back into their homes right now as they're trying to deal with this fire. Jared?
Adam, thank you very much. We are staying on top of this as you were looking at live pictures of the fire in Rancho Bernardo right now, burning at least 20 acres is what we've heard from the city of San Diego. We see that smoke rising and kind of heading off towards the south and the west. Vanessa Paz is here now with a look at the conditions in that area. Vanessa, what can you tell us about what's going on with this fire?
Hey, Jared. So I just punched in these numbers. These are some of the peak wind gusts that we've seen so far since midnight. And you can take a look at the Poway area. They haven't even exceeded over 15 miles per hour. So you could just see which areas are vulnerable. You don't even have to have really strong winds for a wildfire to break out. And that's exactly what we've been seeing, not only yesterday, but today as well. Prime example with the fire burning in Rancho Bernardo. Meanwhile, Ramona has clocked in 25-mile-per-hour gusts since midnight. Palomar Mountain, Cuyamaca, as well as Pine Valley have seen some of the strongest winds so far this morning. And these numbers are only going to intensify as we get through your Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours. We are not even in peak activity yet. All right, let's go ahead and bring you the conditions that firefighters are currently having to deal with. Current temperatures right now, it's starting to warm up. In comparison to the same time yesterday, temperatures are running a little warmer, and they will actually be anywhere from 5 to 13 degrees warmer this afternoon. So that's the downside when it comes to any fires that erupt and any wildfires that continue to grow, is the conditions in terms of dry and windy conditions. We're also dealing with warmer temperatures. Humidity levels are down. We're still in the teens, in some cases down to the single digits. That's what we've seen. Those numbers kind of fluctuate since the morning hours. Winds right now calm, but again, that's just one of the reporting stations. It's updating by the minute, so we'll continue to keep track of that reporting station in Rancho Penasquitos. All right, taking a look at humidity levels, they are down officially to the single digits. This morning we had a lot of more moisture in the region, and it is starting to dry out due to those offshore winds. Again, just a reminder, once those winds come downslope, they dry the surrounding air parcels. They also dry the vegetation even more. And we've had several events like this. So we haven't had any rain. The vegetation is just becoming more and more ripe for these wildfires, not only to start, but also to spread rapidly and intensely, which is exactly what we're seeing. In terms of wind gusts right now, again, these are the calmest winds that we're going to see so far today. They're only going to strengthen later on this afternoon into the evening hours, and they're going to become even stronger for Thursday. So here's a look at that wind gust futurecast. I'm going to put this into play mode here, and I'm going to fast forward this to about 9:30 tonight. And you can see that those winds, they don't let up. They continue to strengthen in between that 30-45 mile per hour range. Isolated gusts could get up to 60 miles per hour, and those wind-prone pockets, Alpine, Sill Hill, Palomar Mountain, I'm talking to you, we could see localized gusts up to 85 plus miles per hour. So yes, this is the secondary round of Santa Ana's that we're experiencing, and unfortunately, again, calm conditions where the fire is burning. but those winds are only going to accelerate through the afternoon. All right, taking a look at temperatures. As I mentioned, the temperatures aren't on the side of the firefight. Right now we're trending warmer than the same time yesterday, anywhere from 2 to nearly 10 degrees warmer. Right now, current temperature is not too bad. We're in the 60s and 50s, but by this afternoon, those daytime highs for the inland areas are going to climb into the 70s. And the red flag warning, it was extended. It was set to expire today. It's now extended all the way through Thursday night because of these dry and windy conditions. So we're looking at critical fire danger. Again, yesterday we had just a slew of them burning from the North County down to Mission Valley. And unfortunately, we're seeing a similar case right now. I'm going to take a really quick look at the traffic because if you are headed out, maybe you're headed home, you have to evacuate. Right now, it's looking very slow towards Rancho Bernardo near the 56, also known as Ted Williams Parkway. It is bottlenecked through that area. Again, we will continue to keep you updated. I'm sure crews are going to have additional closures as this fire grows. Hopefully they get a handle on it. But as of right now, you are congested pretty heavily southbound and northbound through that Rancho Bernardo area. Jared.
I've now learned that this fire is being referred to as the center fire, and we have the evacuation map. This is from CAL FIRE, the city of San Diego. These are the areas to evacuate. The areas in red along Camino del Norte and the 15 down to what looks like this is Carmel Mountain Road. So anything north of Carmel Mountain Road along the 15, if you look at this map, Del Diablo Way, Amazon Street, Andorra Way, Juniper Street, Madrigal Street, up to Camino del Norte there where you see Bernardo Center Drive and all of these smaller streets, Avenida de los Lobos, Camino Codorniz, Camino Crisalida, all of these streets in this area, and you can see on this map all of these homes that are in this area of the evacuation zone. We've heard from evacuees, a lot of them were at work today, or were out running errands, or were just doing whatever they do on a normal day. And they were told, they got messages on their phone to evacuate, and they can't get back in right now. Rolling Hills Elementary, you see on your screen right here in the southern area of this evacuation zone. Also in this evacuation zone, or at least in the warning zone, there is a high school, that Oak Valley Middle School, the Forest Ranch Sports Park. Those are all in the warning areas. Del Norte High School, right up here, just outside of the evacuation zone. That shows what is being threatened right now. We know that fire crews are pulling water from Lake Hodges. They're pulling water from the Miramar Reservoir. They are attacking this fire with everything that they can, but there are 3 zones right now that are under evacuation orders, 3 or 4 more that are under evacuation warnings. Let's bring Bob Lyons back in again, retired firefighter Bob Lyons, who has been so wonderful sharing all of his expertise with us the last few days as we have seen this. Bob, we see now the homes and the evacuations and everything that is threatened, and for people that are maybe in some of those warning areas or in the evacuation zone, but maybe wish that they could get back home to grab a few things, what should they be doing right now?
All right, well, they need to stay out of the area because those areas are closed off. And like they've said before, the biggest problem they have is trying to access them. Those fire trucks are large vehicles. A lot of the roads are fairly narrow, so when people get in there and it gets congested and clogged up, you're preventing the firefighters from getting in there and doing their job. So the advantages we have right now is that you have water sources that are close and you have plentiful water. Miramar Lake, Lake Hodges, and the air tankers coming out of Ramona have a good supply of water and retardant up there. So those are the positives you have. So people just need to try to remain calm, let the firefighters and the police officers do their job. They're well trained, they're well prepared, they're ready to go do it. So the last thing we want to do is interfere with their operation.
The evacuation center, we've been told now, is the Home Depot in Carmel Mountain Ranch. If you know the area that is just across the street from the Costco, a large shopping area in that area. There is a Vons. There are a number of other shopping centers. So people, if you are evacuated and need somewhere to go, that is where emergency crews are being told to direct people. That's the Home Depot in Carmel Mountain Ranch. A more specific address, if you need it, 12080 Carmel Mountain Road. That is the evacuation point. And as crews work, we see right now, Bob, those lines of retardant, those lines of water that are coming down right now. How do they build, as a fire crew, how do they build that perimeter while the fight is going on? And what do they need to do? What types of things are you looking for to see, okay, this area of the mountain seems to be under control, let's start focusing on this next area?
Well, the advantages, like I said, we've got is that we've been doing this for an awful long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have two operations in place right now. You have the ground personnel that are doing their jobs, getting the fire trucks in there, the hand crews in there, possible bulldozers or any of the land equipment. And then you have the air attack, and there's an air attack supervisor flying overhead, and he's directing all the aircraft and keeping them safe. So between him and the ground operations, they come up with a plan, and he's able to observe where the fire is going, how it's moving, and he's the one directing the people below and letting them know what he's going to do, and then he can direct the air tankers as to what he wants to do. And what they're going to try to do is, they call it pincering off the fire. And so as the fire's trying to spread and get bigger, they're trying to take the point of the fire and they're trying to cut it down and pincer it off into a smaller area so the ground crews can get a better ability to get that thing knocked down. So that's why the retardant's in place. And the retardant doesn't last forever. It just slows the fire down and will prevent it from going across. But if you don't get ground crews in there to put the fire out, eventually the fire can go beyond the line. So it's a very well orchestrated operation they have in place. They've been doing it a long time, and they're pretty darn good at it. So, like I said, the worst thing people can do is get in the way and interfere with the operations. So they're doing the best they can, and I know darn well that they've all got it in mind that they want to get this thing under control before the winds do get any worse.
We see the great job that they are doing. We're also seeing, as you mentioned, the emergency crews patrolling the streets, having people move out of the way to allow those other crews, those big fire trucks, into the area so that they can access the points that they need to fight this fire. As we call for more mutual aid, and we hear that there is now CAL FIRE, Poway, San Diego Fire and Rescue. How do all of those different organizations coordinate so that they're all working with one objective and kind of with one voice when they're in a fire like this and so many crews from so many different areas are converging at the same time?
Well, we learned an awful lot from the fires we've had in the past, and one of the problems that we had in the past was communications between the agencies, but that's all been worked out. Now they all have the same radio channels so they can interact with each other. So we don't have any lag time with that, and everybody knows what the other agency's doing. They practice. They have drills every year where we all work together. So all the agencies are used to working with each other. We know what each agency's doing. So it's a pretty well-organized program they've got, and a well-oiled machine, and it works really well. They've been doing it a long time, like I said, and we do practice it all the time. You've got some of the best firefighters in the world here in Southern California. They're used to these sort of things. The magnitude has grown and the urgency has grown, and the danger has definitely grown over the years just because of a lot of factors. But they're out there, and they're going to be doing the absolute best they can for people to try to get this thing out as quickly as possible. And certainly they have a lot of experience on these. I don't want you to make assumptions based on just what you're seeing on TV, but it looks to me, Bob Lyon, retired firefighter with us right now, that the smoke seems to be dissipating, not as thick as it was even 20 minutes ago, and white smoke, which we understand usually means fire is out and not burning as hot or as strong. From what you're seeing on the screen right now, crews appear to be making progress. Is that what you're seeing as well? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the vegetation in Southern California, the sumac and a lot of the brush that we have out there has a really high oil content. So when it burns that darker black brownish smoke. So when you start seeing the lighter smokes, that's generally a good sign that they're getting a handle on it. And remember, that is the idea. They're trying to get this thing out as quickly as possible, because not only do you have the danger of all the exposures that are there, the businesses, the people involved, but there's also in the back of their minds the fear that other fires could break out in other regions and draw resources. So we try to get these things out as quickly as possible to get people back and ready to go for the next one, because unfortunately it certainly seems like we're in a series here where there's going to be a next one. We know that there are several schools in this area, both in the evacuation zone, Rolling Hills Elementary School, and in some of the warning zones. We're seeing Oak Valley Middle School in the warning area, Del Norte High School right next to it. We're waiting for word from the school district on what the plan is for the students and what parents should do
if their students are in those schools. Bob, thank you so much for joining us right now. We want to go out to Melissa Masiha, ABC 10 News anchor Melissa Masiha, who is in the fire area. And Melissa, take us through what you are seeing this morning as crews converge on this area to try and get this center fire under control.
Hey, Jared. Yeah, I heard you talking to Bob, and that is correct. The smoke has dissipated, which is a great thing. We were taking the 15 here. I'm with my colleague, Chris Escobar and Danny Miskell. As we were driving, the smoke was still fairly thick as we were heading north. But you can hear it around me. They have a lot of air support, and that was critical in really trying to fight this thing. I want to go right behind me, Chris. You can see that, the retardant. We've seen a couple air drops, water drops since we've been out here, and we've only been out here for a few minutes. I don't know if you can zoom on into that hill, Chris, but you can see some of the crews up there by that burnt vegetation. They attacked this early, and they attacked this strong, and that is the key in these conditions here, because I'm out here, and we've been talking about it all morning. You heard Vanessa talk about it earlier, just how dry it is, and you can definitely feel that in the air. The air support, there is another one, another water drop. We have seen so many of these over the past few days. The good thing is that we have these resources to really help us in these fires, to keep them small, to keep them contained. Unfortunately, though, we've been having to use so many resources because, like we saw yesterday, we saw several wildfires burning throughout the county. It's not even noon yet, and we are already dealing with, unfortunately, yet another brush fire. If you can take a wide view, Chris, and you can just see this whole area, the street is blocked off, and that's for people's safety, right? They want to make sure that people stay far, make sure they stay safe as the crews work to fight this. The one thing I did notice is that once we got here, there were so many first responders from CHP helping to direct traffic. We saw, of course, obviously, a lot of fire crews, and they really want to make sure that everybody stays safe as they work to get this thing under control. It looks like they are making very good progress because, we're only seeing the white smoke at this point. White smoke, great thing as they work to really contain a handle on this fire and unfortunately any other wildfires that pop up here, Jared.
All right, Melissa, and you mentioned as you were driving up, seeing the fire and the smoke seemingly dissipate. What's the mood there like right now, though, as maybe some of the residents see things appear to get a little better? Does there seem to be some sense of optimism that maybe this fire might not reach some of those houses?
Of course, the hope is the fire doesn't reach any homes, right? I can tell you the area where we are in, Jared, they did let us through just as part of the news media just to make sure that we're able to accurately report this. We did see some residents, though, on the various corners. Everyone's looking to the sky, right? Because just several minutes ago, we saw that thick black smoke. And when you look up in the sky and you don't see that anymore, that's a good thing. And that's what we're seeing here. The skies are starting to lighten up a bit, but you can hear it. You can hear that air support that is so desperately needed in the early moments of this fire. The water drops, so critical in this. A lot of residents are kind of gathering outside of these closed areas. And you know, Jared, we live here. We've lived in San Diego for a very long time. Unfortunately, we are used to the wildfire warnings, and you can just imagine it's the middle of the day. Parents have kids in school. You're trying to figure out, okay, what do I do first when you get that warning on your phone that your neighborhood is evacuated? And like we mentioned yesterday, if this is not another reminder, if you're watching at home, really just be prepared. A lot of people think, okay, you know what, it's not going to happen to me. It might happen to, you know, another part of San Diego County. Unfortunately, here in the county, we're all vulnerable to this. Things are dry. We've seen the wind conditions, and unfortunately, like Vanessa says, we just have not gotten the rain. So if you are safely at home, and hopefully this fire here, it dies down quickly, they wrap this up, everyone is safe. Now is the time to make sure you have all those documents ready. You know where the important things are in your house that you want to grab. It looks like, Chris, they might be letting some cars in. We are seeing some law enforcement officers here bringing in a row of cars now. Hopefully this is a good sign, right? That things in this neighborhood are returning back to normal. Again, we are just right off the 15 at Camino del Norte. Jared, so this is just happening right now, this line of cars being let in, presumably to their neighborhoods. But again, things are ebbing and flowing here. We will continue to keep you posted as we learn more.
Well, and we heard from that one evacuee that Adam spoke with, thank you, Melissa, how much they had to scramble. A lot of people weren't at their homes when this fire broke out and when the evacuation orders went in. There were dogs left behind. There were precious items, and even that go bag that you may have had at the door ready if the warning came, you weren't able to grab because you weren't at home when it happened. So maybe these are some people being let back in so they can grab those few things and get them to safety, grab pets or anything else that they need to get out of their home. As we see, the evacuation orders are fairly widespread right now in that area, from basically Carmel Mountain Road all the way up to Camino del Norte and Bernardo Center Drive. That whole corridor along the 15 and then a little west of it under an evacuation order. We have received word now this has been renamed the Bernardo Fire. If you're looking for information about it online, that's what to search for, the Bernardo Fire. It initially was called the Center Fire, has been now renamed, and a lot of crews going towards this. We've seen from the air, the helicopters going towards it. CAL FIRE, of course, with a large contingent, a huge aviation program, the UH-1H Super Hueys that they have. We've seen drops from those, the air tactical aircraft, the air tankers, the S-2Ts. We're not sure if the C-130s, the Hercules, has been called in for this, but we've seen them dropping retardant. We've seen the water drops, and as we heard from the San Diego Fire, from the city of San Diego, they are using every water resource they can, Lake Hodges, the Miramar Reservoir, wherever they can find water to do these fast, rapid drops as quickly and in succession as possible. About 20 acres, although that was the estimate that we were given a few minutes ago on the size of this fire as it burns through that area, and one person injured. We do know of one person taken to the hospital, taken to UC San Diego Hospital with burn injuries. And that is the extent of the damage that we know of so far. We haven't heard word on any structures that were damaged in this, although this fire is very close to a number of homes. And we are now seeing the smoke start to dissipate, a little thinner, if you will, than it was in the last half hour, and certainly not that thick black smoke from when it first broke out just before 9:45 this morning. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz has been tracking these bone dry conditions for the last few days, Vanessa, and that is what is fueling fires like this. Now, by my count, just in the last about 36 hours, this is the 6th wildfire in San Diego County, or one just across the border in Mexico, but all still in this same climate region. Illustrates how dangerous and dry things are.
Exactly. And again, Melissa mentioned, if this isn't the reminder and kind of just a sobering, again, reminder alert to have to-go bag ready, their to-go bag ready and an evacuation plan in place, I don't know what is, because again, it looks like everyone is vulnerable when it comes to these wildfires breaking out, because we are surrounded by these canyons, a ton of vegetation, shrub, even from the coastal areas, which usually have a lot of moisture in that climate. We're also seeing it heavily reduced when it comes to those relative humidity levels. It's bone dry across the entire county. As far as the hour-by-hour conditions go, this was, I should say, best case scenario. We're looking at calm winds. We were talking to experts over the phone, and they were saying that the smoke was going up versus east or west. That's because conditions are fairly calm. They're the calmest that we're going to see today, because they're only going to intensify later on this afternoon, and humidity levels will continue to plummet. As we take you back to the Bernardo Fire, which has been renamed, I believe, to Bernardo Fire, along the 15 corridor where Bernardo Center Drive and Rancho Bernardo Road meet. Temperatures right now 63 degrees, still really bone dry in that area. The vegetation is just so ripe for these fires to, again, it's more, the problem is once they start, it's more managing them because of just how ripe the fuel load, also known as the brush and vegetation, is due to the lack of rain that we've received since, again, last summer. We haven't really seen anything. Humidity levels down to about 16%. Winds in that area are calm. I updated these numbers about 7 minutes ago. These are the peak winds that we've seen so far since midnight, and they're pretty low in comparison to what we've been seeing in the past with those previous Santa Ana wind events. I mean, Poway clocked in not even 25-mile-per-hour gusts since midnight. Fallbrook saw just over 30, and these numbers are going to only grow as we get into your noon and evening hours all the way through tomorrow. So we certainly have to keep fire danger top of mind over the next couple of days until we finally get a break this weekend. Relative humidity levels are reduced. Yesterday, we saw them as low as 1 to 2%. It is so dry out there. And then we're dealing with, again, this dry vegetation. Right now, we're seeing them down to 8-10%, and wind gusts right now increasing along those mountain and passes, and they'll continue to intensify this afternoon all the way through tomorrow. We will continue to keep you updated in terms of the weather and what we're expecting for the rest of the day a little later on. Jared.
Received word that the on-ramp and off-ramps on both sides of the freeway, the 15 at Camino del Norte, are closed because of the fire and making sure that fire crews can get on and off the freeway as they need to get to this area. ABC 10 News reporter Ryan Hill is there now as well, talking with people who are watching this fire with bated breath. Ryan, some of them even saw the fire start. What have you heard this morning?
Way to a plumbing job. He pulled over and saw just a small plume of smoke occur. Forgive me, I believe we may have been having some technical issues, but I did speak with a man who pulled over from a plumbing job probably about 5 minutes ago, who said that he saw a small plume of smoke and then it erupted into what we are seeing here right now. I'm going to show you this hillside where we've been seeing hand crews with chainsaws, those various types of pickaxes with the flat bladed edge to carve into the dirt to create that fire line. We've also been seeing various helicopters fly overhead so far we've seen at least 3 water drops so far happen in this area. We even felt a little bit of sprinkling from that water fly overhead as the helicopter flew over. We've seen that kind of reconnaissance plane flying overhead, trying to give crews on the ground and in the air the appropriate way to strike this fire and try to get things under control here. Now that gentleman said that, he said it was sometimes quiet, and then he would just hear the bushes and all the different type of foliage out here burst into flames. It would be quiet, and then you'd hear the bushes and the tree and the trees and all of that different foliage just pop with the sound of that fire. We are being told by CAL FIRE that they have at least 1 hand crew out here. They have 2 air tankers, that air reconnaissance plane, and we've seen a handful of different choppers, whether they be from the Sheriff's Department chopper as well as CAL FIRE and also a battalion chief. But clearly there's a much bigger response than just that. We're seeing crews from Poway, San Marcos, San Diego Fire out here in the Rancho Bernardo area. And all these different hand crews that are going up into the hills trying to get this fire under control, considering, Jared, as you were mentioning, this is a very populated area where, we've seen schools here on the maps just even coming here. A lot of people even walking down here on Camino del Norte, just kind of with a very concerned look on their faces. Crews are trying to get a tackle on this fire. And once we find out more information, we'll be sure to let you know on air and online at 10news.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
Live here in Rancho Bernardo, Ryan Hill, ABC 10 News.
Thank you very much, Ryan, and we will stay on top of this. I want to go right now to ABC 10 News reporter Adam Campos. Adam, we're seeing what looks like a police helicopter that landed right behind you. Do you have any information on what's going on with this helicopter that landed on the street?
Hey, Jared, right now we don't have any information on why it just dropped off, but this is one of the water copters that we've been seeing come through the air and drop the water. We don't know why it's making a stop right now, but what we have been seeing is we've been seeing firefighters. They're on the top of the hill right now. It looks like they're just trying to dig out any of the brush that is in that area, but we can't confirm exactly what they're doing. But you can see, if we zoom in all the way, you should be able to see some firefighters at the top of the hill. And now all of a sudden it does look like some smoke is starting to make its way over to the side of the hill. And Mel mentioned earlier about the cars that were in the police escort. I did talk to a police officer with San Diego Police, and they did confirm that that escort was happening to allow people into these apartments that are right here over this wall. One of those people being the person that we spoke to earlier, Diane. That escort was so people can come back, they can get their stuff, and then they're going to be escorted out quickly. So that is at least a sigh of relief for the residents in this apartment complex, that they were able to go inside and get their stuff. We're going to try to work more to see why the copter is stopped right here. We're not sure exactly again, but it looks like right now it might just be a break. Again, we're not sure, so I'll work to figure out what we have from there. Jared.
All right, Adam, thank you very much. We've just heard from Poway Unified School District that Rolling Hills Elementary is being evacuated. They haven't given us any information on where the students are going or where parents should go to pick up their students today, but we know Rolling Hills Elementary is being evacuated. That is the school that is in the evacuation order, and if we take this map that we have on our Live Center computer, we can show you exactly where that is as we look at this fire. Rolling Hills Elementary along the 15, and it is down in this area right here along Penasquitos Drive. Rolling Hills Elementary, again, being evacuated right now. You see it is on kind of the far western edge of the evacuation area. This is, once again, as we reset things here at 10:45 in the morning, the Bernardo fire. It has been burning for now a little more than an hour. We are waiting for an update on acreage, although an early estimate was around 20 acres off of Camino del Norte and Bernardo Center Drive. This is in the Rancho Bernardo neighborhood, and there are lots of homes threatened by this fire. You can see the evacuation orders in red on your screen right now, the evacuation warnings, the areas in yellow as well. We have seen, though, in the last few minutes, emergency crews bring people in their cars back into some of those evacuation areas, people who maybe were not home when they got the warning and needed to go home and get either pets or items that they need and want to save from the fire. We want to go now to Melissa Masiha, who is just by Camino del Norte and Paseo Montanosa. Melissa, you have what looks like a large crowd of people gathering around you, watching the fire and waiting for more information. We know that people who have been asked to evacuate are being told to go to the shopping area on Carmel Mountain Road, the Home Depot, the at-home store there. What are you hearing from people around the area and the emergency crews around you?
You know, it's just a little bit of confusion, which I understand, because this is an area where people were evacuated, and people cannot come back in here without an escort, without a police escort. We showed you the line of cars that were able to go in. So if you have friends or family in this area and everyone understandably wanting to get back inside, just please know that in order to do so, the law enforcement, the police want you to do it safely. I just asked one of them, because people are asking me, hey, can I go inside yet? Can I go in this area? And so I asked the officers, you know, what's going on. They said not without a police escort. So a lot of people here are waiting. I completely understand the situation. People are frustrated, and they just want to know what's going on. Unfortunately, in these types of situations, a lot of the information is fluid, because safety is the top priority. I did hear one of the law enforcement officers, because there is a preschool here nearby. I did hear one of the police officers say all the kids are okay. And I get it, because I'm a parent, and that is the absolute first thing that you think of. Is my family okay? Are the kids okay? And I did hear the police officer say the people, the kids, their kids are doing okay. There are probably about a dozen people here around me. They just want to know when they can go back inside. And I don't have the answer to that, because it all depends on the progress of the fire. And I can tell you right now, we can smell the smoke. Chris, if you can just pan up behind me. It's just right up this hill here. It's coming and going, because when I first got here, it wasn't really in the air much. I'm a little bit closer now, and you can definitely smell it. Again, if you do live in this area, maybe if you're watching us from nearby, if you have respiratory issues, keep your safety and your health in mind. You might want to wear a mask because you can smell it. And again, they're still figuring out exactly what caused the fire, but the stuff in the air, you don't want to smell that. So try to cover your face if you can. Again, we are at the intersection of Paseo Montanoso and Camino del Norte. A lot of waiting here, a lot of wondering what's going on. This area is blocked off. We are working to get more information. The smoke here behind me. So again, as we know, Jared, there's just a lot of wondering what's next. So what we can tell you is try to avoid this area. If you live here, you do need to make sure to wait for the A-OK before you can get back inside.
A lot of tense moments right now, Melissa. Thank you very much. For the people on the street wondering what's going on with their family, let's take another live look from Sky 10 at the burn area. Again, this is the Bernardo fire that is burning just off of the 15 at Bernardo Center Drive and Camino del Norte. We have been on the air with live continuous coverage for more than an hour now, bringing you the firefight. We saw those helicopters, the tankers attacking this fire with everything they could. We have shown you the fire crews on the ground, the hand crews with their shovels and their axes trying to build containment lines, all of this to protect all of the homes that are in that area, because this is one of those places in San Diego where homes go right up next to the wildland urban interface. We heard from geologist Pat Abbott earlier about the chaparral style fuels that are burning in this fire and how they're designed to withstand long stretches without water, but can't go this long. We have not had significant rain in exactly a year. It was January 22nd, 1 year ago, that we had the major rainstorm and flooding. Since then, very little rain at all. ABC 10 News reporter Ryan Hill joins us live right now. Ryan, you're speaking with a firefighter about what this fight has entailed and what they have been able to accomplish over the last hour and a half. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Jared, that's right. We're joined right now with San Diego Fire Rescue Assistant Chief Dan Eddy. Assistant Chief Eddy, where does this fire stand right now when it comes to acreage, the number of crews out here, and where the evacuation orders stand at this time?
So right now we're holding at about 7 acres. We boxed it into 7 acres, which is great for us. As you can see, the smoke is dissipated down, so we're working from the outside to the inside of the fire to those hot points. We have about 200 total personnel on scene working the fire right now. We have evacuation warnings and mandatory evacuations. We're going to try to reduce those down as we can as we get deeper into this fire and get it cooled down. We also have shelters in place to the east of us in schools and daycares.
You know, this is a very heavily populated area. I mean, we're seeing apartments to our right, apartments to our left. You know, we saw homes down the street. What is your message to folks who might be worried sick right now, given what we've seen in LA, we saw in the Mission Valley area yesterday?
Well, what I would tell them is if you get an evacuation, go. If you get that warning, please go. But at the same time, the amount of resources that we're bringing in on these fires right now, whether it be air resources or ground resources, the collaboration with everyone within the county working together is ensuring that this stayed at 7 acres. We were expecting a potential of possibly 20 acres or more for this to grow. So to hold it at 7 shows that the coordination with all these agencies working together ensures that fire stays smaller.
We always hear the terms coordination, working together. What goes into that to make sure that this did not double, if not triple in size?
So what that goes into is it's not just right now, it's year round. We train year round with our op area. We talk daily. I speak all day long with op area chiefs to one another to ensure we understand our weather, our amount of resources. We have 3 pre-positioned strike teams available here in San Diego County right now that are a collaboration of all units together, not just San Diego City. It's CAL FIRE, it's San Marcos, it's Poway, all these units together. So we all share the load and ensure that we work together on everything.
I'm sure it's still very early on in just the initial firefight. Any indication of how this may have started or anything like that?
No, we have investigators on scene. We did transport one burn victim via air ambulance to the hospital who was on scene, but they will do the investigation. We'll have more shortly.
Were they civilian personnel or?
It was a civilian personnel that was transported with burns.
Okay. I guess also with this as well, the big question on many people's minds is when will they might be able to go back home?
Our hope is to get people back home in the next couple of hours. As we reduce those warnings down, the main worry for us is this afternoon. 2 to 3 o'clock, we have a little wind shift that's going to pick up on us. So if we can cool everything down by then everybody will get back in a lot sooner. But that's our biggest worry, is ensuring that we have the heat out of the middle of this fire.
You mentioned those wind shifts. I know we're in that red flag warning until 8 p.m. tonight. What is your message to the public, to the crews when we see something like this, knowing that we are anticipating those high winds with that dry fuel?
Two things that I would ask. You see something, call it in right away. You see anything whatsoever, call it in so we can get the units here right away like we did on this one. And the second thing would be is we ask you to evacuate. Please do so. It makes it that much easier for our ground crews to start working inward instead of worrying about getting you out of your house.
Fantastic. Assistant Chief Eddie, thank you so much for your time, sir. Appreciate it. So as you heard from them, they're holding this right now with 7 anchors, and they are crediting all of that coordination throughout the year and right here on the scene to be able to make sure that this fire did not balloon in size, and trying to make sure that they're doing everything they can with the hand crews to the water drops and all that coordinated effort here in Rancho Bernardo. We're here on Camino del Norte, just west of the 15. We did see one of those choppers take off not too long ago. Again, they're still continuing to look into, as they fight this fire, possible causation and everything like that. And as you did hear, one person was injured during this firefight. They were a civilian during this time, as they were taken to the hospital with burn wounds. For now, reporting live here in Rancho Bernardo, Ryan Hill, ABC 10 News.
Amazing the work that fire crews have done this morning to try and keep that fire from growing and expanding exponentially in size, as we have seen so many other times. It's what we saw a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles, fueled by those winds, and we have much calmer winds this morning than we had even yesterday afternoon, and certainly calmer right now than what we're expecting later today. You see the homes, you see the infrastructure all around this burn mark, and that is why it was so tense for the last hour or so. ABC 10 News anchor Melissa Messiha is live in the Rancho Bernardo area. And Melissa, you just spoke to someone who had to go and get their child out of the evacuation area from a school. How nerve-wracking that must be. We're both parents, and we understand what that is like when your child is in danger.
Absolutely. His daughter, 3.5 years old. She was very calm, very adorable, but I get it. The dad, they had to go. I just spoke to him 2 minutes ago, but he went back to his car. His daughter goes to the kinder care here. He dropped off his daughter, and then they got the alert that they were being evacuated to a clubhouse nearby. And you can imagine, because as a parent, you go to work and you're not there with your kids, and you just want to be there at that moment. So he rushed back down here just to make sure his daughter Chloe was safe. He had her in his arms, so they were reunited. They were okay, but he said he was worried, as all the parents, I can imagine, are worried, because all you want is to hold your kids safe, right? And the good thing here is that all the kids, they are okay. Many have already been reunited with their parents. So yeah, that's just a lot of you mentioned the tenseness and the confusion, a little bit of the stress, because you think about what is most important to you, right? It's your family. It's your family, it's your pets, and they are your top priority. The kinder care did send out an alert to its families, telling them about the evacuation. And some of the people were let back inside to this nearby apartment to grab some things. I can tell you that the smoke is starting to get a little stronger. So after this, I'm going to go grab my mask as well, because we're definitely smelling that in the air. And it's very loud out here, right? With the airdrops, the water drops that we have seen. I want to show you some of the response. Chris, if you can go ahead and pan this way. A lot of the police officers have been doing a great job just directing traffic. A lot of residents, of course, understandably, they want to go back inside their homes. And the officers, at least the ones that I can hear here, have been very calmly telling them, you need a police escort. We need to make sure that everyone is okay. Yeah, you hear another San Diego fire chopper right above us, and we've been hearing that here throughout the morning. Landing, I believe, it looks as though they're going to be landing on the freeway. We saw a sheriff's helicopter earlier. Hey, this is one of the reasons why this road is still closed, and why the police, the CHP, are making sure that everyone stays out of here that doesn't need to be here, because there's still, although we don't see, Jared, the thick black smoke that we saw earlier, that doesn't mean it's done. We know how this goes. They still have to get full containment. They still have to deal with mopping up the area, making sure there are no hot spots. So even though we don't see the thick black smoke, there's still a lot of work left to be done. We're going to continue to be out here to gather more information. But again, if you live near this area, this is Camino del Norte and Paseo Montanoso, just to let you know that this intersection is still blocked off. Also, for anyone wondering about the kids at this school, as I've been told by police officers, they are all safe. And of course, that's exactly what we want to hear, that people are safe. Jared.
Thank you very much, Melissa. We see how the smoke has kind of changed direction. Before it was rising and blowing, and now it's kind of settling across the land and moving. It is just coming up on 11 o'clock. We just got new information from Poway Unified that Rolling Hills Elementary School that was evacuated, the students are being taken to Poway High School, and information about reunification has been sent directly to families. So again, that high school is the reunification site, Poway High, for Rolling Hills Elementary. ABC 10 News has been on the air for more than the last hour and 15 minutes covering the Bernardo fire. We're going to reset right now. ABC 10 News at midday begins in just a few seconds.
ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
It is 11 o'clock on Wednesday, January 2nd. Thank you for joining us. We are bringing you breaking up-to-the-minute updates on a wildfire burning right now in the Rancho Bernardo area. The Bernardo fire has been going for about an hour and a half, and we have seen a large response to try and get this fire under control. We have team coverage of this fire right now. My co-anchor, Melissa Masiha, reporter Danny Miskell, reporter Adam Campos, meteorologist Vanessa Paz, and several other crews, all in the Rancho Bernardo area, keeping an eye on this fire. We want to reset and give you the information. We've just heard from fire crews about 7 acres. This fire is burning right now just off of the intersection of Camino del Norte and Bernardo Center Drive, just west of the 15. You're looking at a map right now of the evacuation orders. If you're in the area of red and you haven't already, it is time to get out. If you are in that yellow area, now is the time to get ready, because if this fire spreads, you will need to evacuate as well. As we look at this map, you can see some of the streets involved in it. Bernardo Center Drive, Camino del Norte, all the way south down to Carmel Valley Road on the southern end where it intersects, Carmel Mountain Road rather, where it intersects with the 15, Junipers Drive, Del Diablo Way. We know that Rolling Hills Elementary School is in this evacuation order. Those students have been taken to Poway High School in the Poway Unified District for reunification. And this is what we have been worried about for the last few days and weeks. Another wildfire like this, only this one right where the vegetation butts up against homes. You can see even on this map how many homes are in this area and near this wildfire. People have been evacuated. Now, in the last half hour or so, we have seen the fire activity seem to lessen, and we've seen emergency crews taking some people back into the evacuation zone to get some things that they weren't able to grab if they weren't at home when the evacuation order came out. Pets, important documents, things like that. But fire crews have told us this is still a very active scene and still not something that they are taking lightly. They have been doing helicopter drops, they have been doing tanker drops of fire retardant, and they are trying to hit this as hard as they can before winds pick up later this afternoon. We want to start right now by going out to ABC 10 News reporter Adam Campos, who is live in the area of the wildfire. Adam, you are right now on Camino del Norte, just past the 15, and what are you seeing from your area?
Jared, earlier we saw the escorted cars. They were lined up right underneath the freeway. Those are residents that are right here in this apartment building, or in this apartment complex right here, and they were escorted to receive some of their stuff from their apartment. And just a few moments ago, we saw some of the same cars. They are coming out, so it looks like some of the residents were able to get their stuff from their apartments. And right here, you see that silver truck right here. That is a fuel truck. The chopper that landed right here in the middle of the intersection, it is a San Diego Diego Sheriff chopper. It came down just to refuel. That one is now back up in the air fighting. And earlier I actually got to speak with a mother whose kids were actually home in this neighborhood right here. And she tells me that her kids actually saw the fire right on the other side of the cul-de-sac that they live in. And when they saw it, they immediately called her and told her mom there's a fire happening. And when they were there, they saw trucks coming out, and they were immediately trying to stop the fire from reaching the cul-de-sac into that area. And actually, in some of the video that they sent us, you could see the flames coming up closer to the homes. Luckily, her kids were able to evacuate safely, and the crews were, from what the mom told me, is that the crews were able to protect the homes right in that area. And as we've seen, the fire pushing more towards the south and towards the west. But right now, what we're seeing, just the smoke is starting to settle in over here on the east side of this hill. We have seen personnel going up into the hill right now. We're not sure exactly what they are doing, but it looks like there are several dozen firefighters that are up on this hill right now, where you can see the red retardant is on there. So right now, as again, we saw the chopper come down to refuel. That is now back up in the air. And again, people now having a little bit of a sigh of relief as they were able to come pick up their stuff from the apartment complex right here on the other side of this fence. And they do expect more people to come in to try to pick up their stuff. And you can see right now there's another helicopter going up right now.
Okay, it seems we have lost the signal from Adam. A lot going on in that area. Understandable how signals go in and out. This is a live look at Sky 10 right now, flying over the area where this fire was. And we have heard already that the mutual aid system that Southern California and the entire southwestern region has in place went to work very quickly. There was the San Diego Fire Department, the first response, CAL FIRE, Poway Fire Department, and more, all converging on this. And of course, we saw those helicopters and those tankers making those drops. We have some video from earlier this morning of what this fire looked like when it began to burn that we want to share with you now, that showed just how tense those moments were, as we go to ABC 10 News reporter Melissa Masiha, who is in the neighborhood. And Melissa, you spoke with some people who had kids in the evacuation zone at the KinderCare, the Rancho Bernardo KinderCare, a daycare, and how tense it was for them trying to make sure that their children were safe and that they were able to get to their kids even though they were in an evacuation zone.
Jared, as you know, you drop off your kids in the morning and all you care about is their safety. So those parents, they got the alert saying that their school was going to be evacuated. It's the KinderCare right here. I talked to one dad who had his daughter in his arms. He was happy that she was safe. They got the alert right away. He said he came down from work, came to this area, but this area was already blocked off. So it took him a few minutes to be reunited with his daughter. I just want to show you the number of emergency crews. So again, we are at Camino del Norte and Paseo Montanoso. A lot of fire crews, we have ambulances, a lot of law enforcement, police officers, San Diego police. They've been doing a great job directing the traffic at this intersection. I put on my mask because even though you don't see the black smoke, the winds have started to pick up slightly, which is really kicking up that smell. So if you are in this area, you are sensitive to some of those things in the air, I would suggest you do so as well. My photojournalist, Chris Escobar, he is focusing on the hill where we saw some of the water drops earlier. I can hear also some of those hand crews working in this area. Coming back down to me, a lot of people, they were just worried, understandably. They were confused as to what's going on. A lot of people asking the police, when can they go back inside their homes? They have been slowly letting people come inside to get their things. We are seeing, Chris, if we can go ahead and turn this way, a lot happening here, so excuse me if it's a little bit shaky. But people are coming out with their suitcases, with their backpacks, grabbing what they need just in case they're not going to be able to come back soon. I saw one guy who had his cat in in a backpack. And I asked him how the cat was doing. He said the cat's doing okay, but they were heading out of here as well. So avoid this intersection. This is Paseo Montañoso and Camino del Norte, right off the 15. Although they are letting some residents in, again, this is still closed to the general public. We will continue to keep you posted and bring you more information as soon as we get it. For now, I'm Melissa Masiha reporting live. Jared, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Melissa. And we have this video that we wanted to show from earlier today of that black smoke. This was the first indication that most people got that something was not right in the Rancho Bernardo area. This footage from Alert California. This is the network of cameras that go all over the state. Really, there isn't an area in this state that there isn't a camera focused on. And part of this is used for safety. These cameras help inform where resources go to. We've heard, in addition to CAL FIRE, Poway, San Diego, San Marcos Fire Department, Rancho Santa Fe Fire, they're all there. And because of these cameras and the mutual aid, they were all able to jump on this fire as quickly as possible. Again, the last we heard, 7 acres and holding more than 200 fire personnel, including helicopters, hand crews, emergency workers are all there. We have a live picture right now of the hand crews. And I'd like to bring in, as we look at this, retired firefighter Bob Lyon. Bob, we've been speaking to you several times over this morning. Can you tell us when you saw this fire this morning, where it was and what was around it? What was your initial reaction about how bad this could get?
Well, the initial thought there is when you first see them start up, normally in a normal average day, you'd be concerned, but not to the degree we are nowadays. Like your reporters have been saying, the extreme dry conditions, anytime your humidity is under about 25%, that presents a real extreme danger for the fuels being super dry. And then you throw on top of that the winds that we have, and then you add on top of that the fire crews have been busy, like you said, for the last 36 hours. They've pretty much been nonstop fighting fires all around the county. And for the past probably 3 to 4 weeks, they've been fighting fires all around the state. There's strike teams all over the state, so there's fatigue setting in on people. But, yeah, your concern is getting ahead, because we all saw what happened in Los Angeles, and nobody wants to see that happen again. And with the wind gusts and everything, that's your biggest concern. You want to get there as soon as you can. And luckily here, like I said, we have an air attack base from CAL FIRE up in Ramona, and we luckily have air resources in the county that 25 years ago we didn't have. So luckily we've got the Sheriff's Department with a lot of firefighting helicopters. The City of San Diego has several firefighting helicopters. So we have a lot of good aerial resources, and those are actually almost invaluable on fires like these because they can get there so quickly and they get water on the fire. So they're a definite resource that is used instrumentally all throughout the state.
And this is something that the state and every fire department in California has been working towards over the last few years, ramping up protection and prevention so that if something like this happens, they can react quickly. Bob, we saw the fire yesterday morning, the Lilac Fire, the Paula Fire, the Riverview Fire, then the Friars Fire. When you saw this fire today, what was the main difference that you saw in this fire that made the fight different from what crews were dealing with yesterday morning?
Well, it's in a more densely populated area, and so that means you have better street access, you have better water access, and the time of day is actually important. Now, we have several helicopters in the county that can fight fire at night, but one of the main things that they're really concerned about is that you know the area that you're flying into pretty well. So we like to have at least flown in there during the daytime hours to take a look at where the dangers and any hazards are in place. So this being in the daytime gave the crews the opportunity that when they first launch in there, they can see what they've got on their hands. Makes it a whole lot easier for them. It's still an incredibly dangerous job they do, but it does help out by being able to see that. Now, the other fires that start at night, you don't have that opportunity, and you have a lot less aircraft you can get in the air because of the nighttime conditions. So those are things that really concern you, and that seems to be the biggest difference between that fire and this fire is that the crews were able to get there. Visibility is a lot better because it's the daytime. That helps both the ground crews and the air crews.
It's all good news and all wonderful examples of how everything comes together and coordinates. As you look at what's going on right now, Bob, and again, we're speaking with Bob Lyon, retired firefighter, what are the next steps? It seems like the main fight is over, but this is not done. So what are the next steps for these crews as they work on hotspots and make sure that this doesn't reignite or doesn't spread any further?
Well, they're right now they're working on trying to, it sounds like they've got a good wrap on it, but what they want to do is they want to make sure that thing is out cold, because with the wind conditions like you saw in Los Angeles, one of the reports was that these were older fires that were not all the way out. They had some smoldering underground, which fires can under the surface with roots and things. They can smolder for a long time. You get the wind start to come through, and that can pick it up, send those embers, and get your spot fires going. So their big concern now is that they want to make sure they've got that thing out cold and that they don't have any of those type situations before the wind conditions get any worse, because the last thing we want to do is get it almost all the way out. You feel like you've got it completely out, and then all of a sudden you get a hot spot, starts to burn, it starts blowing embers, and the next thing you know, you're off to the races again, and you're trying to chase another one, which nobody wants to do.
And it's such a hectic situation up there with the people that are evacuating, with the fire crews coming in. For those people that maybe weren't home when the evacuation order came, we've seen some emergency crews take them back into their homes or their streets to get things. What do you tell people who want to go and talk to firefighters and ask, hey, can I go here? What should they keep in mind as they are trying to get back to their homes this afternoon?
Well, the good news there is that the firefighters are busy doing their job, and the police, the sheriff's agencies, all the law enforcement agencies, highway patrol, all of those resources are available. And they're probably the main source that the people are going to run into, because they're the ones that are concerned with people getting back in there, not just for their safety, but they want to prevent any kind of people that might be back there, as we saw in Los Angeles with looting. Unfortunately, in these times, that can happen. So the sheriffs and the police and highway patrol, they're always very cognizant of that. They want to get the people back in there, but they want to get them back in there safely. They want to make sure that it doesn't bog down the roads. And basically, you probably tell the people to do just what Melissa had said earlier, is you want to get your main things that everybody in Southern California and throughout the West should know is, important papers, some photos, animals, just your main things. You don't want to try to sit around and spend a lot of time. If they're letting you back in there, then take advantage of the time they're giving you and grab your most important possessions. And, sadly, these things happen. Luckily, it sounds like they've got this thing pretty well under control. But it's a good lesson for everybody anywhere around Southern California, is to make sure that you do have those really important items readily available to you, so that if you do get an evacuation order, you can get out of there quickly. And if you aren't there and you have to go back to your house, that you know where all those items are at. You don't have to spend a lot of time digging around, because the law enforcement has a lot of things on their hands, and they don't really want to spend hours waiting for you to look through all of your possessions. So if you know where those are at, you can get there quickly. That's really important for people.
Good advice. Retired firefighter Bob Lyon, thank you very much. Again, we are covering the Bernardo fire right now. A large response over the last hour and 45 minutes or so. 7 acres burning near Bernardo Center Drive and Camino del Norte. Our coverage continues right after this.